One of the reasons why we'll never know what happens behind the fourth wall, trust and believe, with the information that we get, we won't ever understand what happens behind the fourth wall. Oh, he's chasing mirrors because it's mostly Yankees history. Oh, how safe. You don't want to talk about most of MLB history. But the fourth wall will never fall because it has a solid foundation. And that solid foundation is made of green and it's called currency. I mean, because if you think about information, where it comes from, how it flows, right? Most of our information comes from the top down. Where do you get your news from? Your credible news, right? Because it's this funny thing about research and having things double sourced, triple sourced, fact checked. Credible sources have to present it, or it's not fact. But what if I walk out of my house and I see LeBron James in Albany, Georgia, hanging out? Or not just hanging out. I see LeBron James in Albany, Georgia, walking out of a random house. Gets into a unmarked car, and nobody sees him but me. And I don't take a picture, and I report that LeBron James was in Albany, Georgia. And then they go fact check, and they can't find it. Why? Because he did not fly into Albany. There's no flight record of him being there. He drove from wherever he came from, right? And you can't prove he was anywhere unless you got cameras. I don't have picture evidence of it, but then you say it didn't happen. But it did happen. That's the truth, right? Because I saw it. Nobody else saw it. All right. So here's how the fourth wall works. If you want access, you have to cover things in a way that the people who grant the access will allow it. So does that mean that you get the truth? No. Think about watching a football game. Hardly any of your color commentators actually provide true analysis. They won't call out coaches. They won't call out players for playing poorly. You know why? Because if they do, they won't get the same access. And because of the access and the money that's tied to having the job and the access, those who are chosen, or those who have chosen to help the uninformed become more informed, are just giving out a little bit of information. It's not misinformation, but it's not actual fully developed information that educates those who are seeking education. We are being given a disservice because of the monetization of the media. So the fourth wall would never fall because it has a solid foundation. It's just like a former coach going on Sports Center breaking down a game, and he doesn't say anything that talks about a coach making a bad decision. Why? Because that guy wants a job one day. He won't call out a player for playing poorly because maybe he has to coach that player one day, and that player may not like that coach for calling him out one day, and he won't say anything. Or the journalist who's covering the artist and won't talk about their terrible drug habit and the way they mistreat people until somebody else reports it, because it becomes a legal issue and it's out there and it's public knowledge when you knew the whole time. Why? Well, because you want access. Or how we've seen stories get pulled off the internet, right? And we've seen bloggers get sued, and media members lose their jobs and lose their credentials because maybe they reported on something that was not favorable to an important human being. That's the world we live in today. So look, this is not communist Russia. You know what I mean? This is not the Soviet Union. This is not Germany with the Berlin Wall, right? The wall's not falling because it has such a solid foundation that in order for you to get inside to report and try to break that wall down, you gotta be there. You can't break it down if you're not in there. And once you get in there, you want to stay in there so you can be supported by that fourth wall. So you'll never do the work that it takes to knock it down. Something as simple as Colin Cowherd today, who loves Russell Wilson, is tied in with Russell Wilson, would not come out and criticize Russell Wilson's lackluster performance in the Monday Night Football game. You see it all the time in the media, and it's sick. It's absolutely sick. Charlemagne the God did not want to be friends with artists until he became friends with artists, and then he got super friendly with these people. He's making more money. He's doing more projects, and guess what? He's way less critical of those who are favorable to him. The job of the media is not to be a friend to the people you cover. It's to be the mediator between the people that you cover and those who are interested in those people who don't get to go. It's a hard job. It's a super hard job, but in order to get to where you need to be to have the access, you got to have the funds. And those who have the funds are going to talk about their friends and the fun that they have in a way that's friendly and fun to them and not actually true to those who are missing out. And that's why there's the crabs in the barrel mentality. That's why we talk about this idea of competition and competing against one another. And you see the Southern black man and the Southern white man going to war with each other, and they're both poor against what? They're going to war with each other, but they have the same common enemy. So they got the same common enemy. The thing that the poor Southern oppressed black man is fighting for does not affect what the poor Southern less oppressed white man is fighting for. And if either gets what they want, neither still has the power, the leverage to affect what the other person is going after. But it's called divide and conquer. It's called crabs in a barrel. It's like, hey, you got to spend your time trying to get out of the barrel and making sure that you're the first one out. If you're the first one out, means you got to step on a lot of people to get there. But when they got pinchers just like you, they can pull you right back down. And guess what? All of y'all are just in there fight. And what do we see in society? The haves versus the have-nots. And the barrel is getting more full and more full and more full.